Every game has a theory behind how it should be approached. An example, Overwatch. It has a very well-known theory, in fact. So much so that the devs openly reference it themselves. Of course, I'm talking about the rock, paper, scissors that is dive, brawl, and poke. Deadlock is kind of the same. There are only 3 types of Deadlock heroes, that's how it's the same. You have your Perma fighters, your Perma farmers, and your Arnold Palmers. But Poshipop told me that Paradox is a pick hero, and shut up. What I'm presenting today is a game theory, not that kind. While Overwatch has a very specific and defined theory that is ultimately very difficult to break out of, Deadlock doesn't. It's a very new game, and Deadlock heroes aren't necessarily made to fit specific molds, unlike Overwatch. Which means theory is malleable. It means both that Poshipop can state that Paradox is a pick hero type, and I can say that the pick type doesn't exist, because we operate under differing theories. I don't care whether your hero is pick or support, or whatever other fake taxonomy people want to invent. I care about what you're supposed to be doing when there isn't a fight in front of you, because that makes up most of your moment-to-moment gameplay. So instead of sorting heroes by their buttons, I sort them by what they're actually supposed to be doing. It's important to know what kind of hero you're playing, so I'm going to ask that everyone look up from their mobile game and actually pay attention to the screen for a moment so I can present to you the Fighter Jet Deadlock Lemonade tier list, because I like lemonade. If you are a perma fighter, unless you are jumping an enemy, you are banned from the side lanes and banned from your double centers. Those belong to your Arnies and your perma farmers. Likewise, if you are a perma farmer, you are banned from the mid lane unless you are taking your double centers. As a perma farmer, it's almost never your job to fight anything until late game. You should always be focused on staying ahead of the enemy perma farm. How do you know when it's time to start fighting? It's kind of a vibes thing. Other than your solo wave farm, as a farmer you should always be making money, generally by doing camps. You can do boxes and centers if you have nothing else to do, or you're taking the enemies, but it's best to stick to camps on your side because you don't want to be caught out. Remember, as the farmer, you're the team's win condition late game. It's not like I'm saying to run away from fights. You should be collapsing on overextended opponents even as the perma farmer. You should be fighting for urns and taking objectives when there are opportunities. How do we get those opportunities? I'm glad you asked. Let me introduce your new best friend, the perma fighter. Why are they your best friend? Because they do all the work for you while you focus on just doing better than the enemy team. It's the perma fighter's job to disrupt the enemy perma farm and protect their own. You'll notice the lemonade list is top heavy, and this is because around 3 to 4/6 of a match is generally made up of perma fight heroes. Which is the standout because that means your Arnies and perma farms therefore only make up a quarter each of the rest of your team. It's also the fighter's job to make calls like running the urn, invading, and to collapse on overextended enemies. As a fighter, therefore, you must be knowledgeable about the game. You cannot simply W-key an M1 at all times. The responsibility for your farmer's safety is on the line. It's also for this reason that I somewhat consider heroes like Bebop, Paradox, and Lash to be support in a sense. Of course, this definition of support doesn't match the healers from hero shooters that most people are familiar with, but Overwatch is the one that co-opted the term, not the other way around. Your IGL should generally be on the perma-fight role, but honestly for most people, considering that most people are like Archon and below, I'd just be happy if you had one. Perma-fighters generally belong on the mid lane so they can rotate to anything on the side lanes quickly, and so that they can punish invades when possible. They mostly should be getting their money from wave clear and low tier camps that are close to the horizontal middle of the map, and perhaps more importantly, invading enemy camps. The most famous example is, of course, taking the enemy double centers. This is the biggest impact against a team that knows what it's doing, since that has a deep impact on either their Arnie or their farmer. It's honestly more about this factor and less about the souls that you personally get, since your hero is the one that inherently cares less about it than whom you stole it from. Don't get me wrong though, center sacrifices are also really valuable to fighters. There are times when fighters lose and get behind a bit too far, but don't want to take money from their farmer. This is, in my opinion, generally the entire point of the 2 mid lane centers spawn, since they're for fighters to get back into the game. They can more effectively take advantage of the golden statue buffs because they're fighting more, and because the time that it takes to do centers is homogeneous to all heroes except Pocket with Mirage stacks for some reason, it's a nice infusion of cash as well. The same logic applies to mid boxes. In fact, the mid boxes are basically like the fighters' double centers. Carries really shouldn't be taking them, and they're worth about 2 centers souls-wise. Fighters should generally never be taking tier 3 camps. I might even raise an eyebrow at the big tier 2 camps, such as the underground one on your left lane, or the one to the left of your right lane guardian building, because these camps are also extremely valuable to your farmers. That, and you hardly have time to do them in the first place because you should always be looking at the map to see what your fellow fighters are doing and joining them. If you're listening to me say all this and thinking to yourself, wow, it sounds like fighters do 75% of the work in a game, why would anyone play the farm role? I agree with you. I don't know why someone would enjoy playing a hyper carry, also known as ADC, also known as M1 carry. It really is that boring to me. It's at this point in the video I'd like to remind you that you don't have to subscribe to this theory. It's just a different way of looking at the game and simplifying each hero to give a broad idea of what your average game looks like in the first 20 minutes. You can still say, okay, Fighter Jet, that's cool and all, but I'm gonna stick with saying Paradox is a pick hero, and that's fine. Okay, let me get to the Arnies. I only play one of them, Pocket, and I'm not even that good at them. They're neither banned from any lane nor the double centers. In fact, it's difficult to say what exactly they should be doing with general rules like the other two categories, because most of these guys are special cases. So I'm not going to go that deep into these types of heroes, mostly because they're so nuanced that you really want to hear about someone who specifically plays this type of hero and how they should be playing, rather than some general rules that aren't necessarily going to fit all of them in this category. If you really want me to go in a little bit more in depth on some of these heroes, I do have some videos specifically about Magician and Mirage that are up, that are talking about kind of their playstyles. And while I don't specifically openly reference this theory, assuming you've paid attention, I believe you should be able to understand what I'm getting at in those videos. The videos in question, which should be on screen now if I understand YouTube correctly, which is kind of a 50-50. And those are the three types of Deadlock heroes. Thank you for watching. Type the video pretty please because it will make me smile, and that is probably like the most important thing in the world, making me smile. And let me know if there's anything specific that needs clarification in the comments, because my friend said people wouldn't understand this concept, but he's also an asshole, so, you know.